Hello, my friends. So this is going to be kind of an unusual rant. I'm going to be talking a little bit about the history of Gardnerian Wicca, but I'm also going to be addressing some comments that a Facebook group member made on a particular video that I had posted in a Facebook group. So I hope you enjoy. So let me just read what this person said. If you should make up a new name every time some innovation occurs, why didn't the Wiccans of the 50s do exactly that? I think you have to understand that, first of all, the Wiccans of the 50s called themselves witches. There were a handful of witches in England in the 50s that made up this core group of which Gerald Gardner was a part of, and they called themselves witches. Later on down the line, into the late 60s and early 70s, the word Wicca begins to be adopted by a lot of people, and there's two good reasons why this particular word Wicca was adopted by so many writers. First of all, it sounds different. It sounds historical. It sounds archaic. It had that sense of something new and something authentic. The other reason for it was more acceptable. The word witch still had a lot of stigma to it, but if you called it Wicca, people seemed to accept it better than it being witchcraft. They invented something newish, more like a ridiculously simplified version of traditional magic, with a whitewashed version of Dianic paganism and Italian witchcraft, then ripped off an old name for it. I don't know anything about the witches in the 1950s in England taking on Dianic paganism and Italian witchcraft, so whatever sources you have for this, that would be great to hear about. And then rip it off an old name for it. Wicca was a word that Gerald Gardner heard during his initiation in 1939, where he was initiated into the Wicca. And later, people found out that the term Wicca was the Anglo-Saxon word for witch. In particular, Wicca, which is pronounced Wicca, is a male witch. W-I-C-C-E was witche, which was a female witch. W-I-C-C-A-N, which was pronounced witchin, was plural. So you have a group of male witches. And W-I-C-C-E-N, witchin, was plural for female witches. On the other hand, understanding the origins of modern Wicca and comparing that to the last time a historical Wicca existed should make it pretty clear that none of us have a leg to stand on when it comes to asserting authenticity. Before the 1950s, there was no historical Wicca being referenced as an actual Wicca practice or an actual Wicca person. So I don't know what you mean by this. The name Wicca, as I said, comes from Anglo-Saxon. And it was referring to witches. So essentially the name Wicca and witch are the same thing. It's just that the word that we use today, witch, is an amalgamation of the four different types of singular and plural witch, so that the singular male witch, witchin, and the singular female Wicca became just witch. The plural version just became witches. Wicca owes a heavy debt both to heretical and Gnostic Christians as well as to ceremonialists who were among the first to create a form of Christian neo-paganism. W.B. Yeats was an excellent example of a trailblazer in this department a good 50 years before Gardner created what we call Wicca today. W.B. Yeats and Gerald Gardner lived during the same time. The Wicca owes a heavy debt to Gerald Gardner. To give you an example, over just my lifetime, which is about 35 years of practice, it has gone from this, about 13 pages, to 80 pages. So it is easy to understand how Gerald Gardner, whatever he received from his initiators in 1939, he may have added and taken out and changed whatever it was that he had and passed along to his people who he initiated. So even though there's a lot of similarities between the Wicca practice and, let's say, the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, the Rosicrucians, the Freemasons, Society of Inner Light, all of these different occult organizations during the time, it is easy to understand how these influences would come in. So there's the two arguments. One is that Gerald Gardner included those things into his particular form of witchcraft, or his initiators already had this into the practice that they had passed along to Gerald Gardner. So that is my theory of how Gerald Gardner's practice of witchcraft evolved. And sorry for beating a dead horse and dragging the conversation out further, but the OTO connection, as well as my use of terms like whitewashed, should be addressed. Back on May 1st of 1947, Arnold Crowther introduced Gerald Gardner to Aleister Crowley. Aleister Crowley was living in London at the time. He was heavily addicted to heroin, using it as a painkiller. He was in the last year of his life. Gerald Gardner was introduced to Aleister Crowley. They met 3 times in 1947, all of those taking place in May. Scholars analyzing the charter that Gerald Gardner received, first of all, the writing is not Aleister Crowley's writing. The sentence structure of the thelemic greeting is incorrect. So there's some question about how this OTO charter came about. While the charter document is the only documentation of Gardner's connection with Crowley, pulling such a charter implies some familiarity with the tradition. No, it doesn't. It implies that Gardner received a charter from Aleister Crowley, but as to what the purpose of it was and what it meant, there's a lot of question for that. If Gerald Gardner did want to actually become the leader of the OTO, I think he would have done that. And I think he would have used that OTO connection to further Aleister Crowley's OTO, or the ideas of Thelema. The fact that Gerald Gardner basically had the charter and did nothing with it shows that he did not pursue the OTO. His main interest was in the witchcraft cult. This gives us good evidence of where everything from the need of ritual flagellation and circle casting could have come from. Now, I know that it is not proof of copycatting, but when we combine this with the fact that he directly and intentionally misrepresented the source of material like the charge and gave Doreen Valiente none of the credit she deserved for much of the original material in the trad, what we see is that none of his claims can be taken at face value. Okay, Mr. E, let's go back to 1950s. All of those people in the 50s who identified themselves as witches did not want to be known as witches. They wanted to remain secret. Gerald Gardner was the one who wanted to be in the limelight. Doreen Valiente, Arnold Crowther, Cecil Williamson, all of these people did not want to draw all this attention to them. Doreen Valiente's contribution to not only Wicca, but the pagan community is immense. The charge that Doreen Valiente improved upon, and all of her contributions to the source material that we have today is great. She was a fantastic poet, and all of it just fits right in with Gerald Gardner's vision of what Wicca should be. Gerald Gardner may not have given her all the credit that she deserved, but you have to understand that at the time, Dorian Valiente did not want to have attention drawn to herself. Thank you, and blessed be.
Oh, I'm going to show you how wrong you are. You stupid, big-eared, dumb-looking son of a...
You, hey. Yes, me, on YouTube.
What? Are you talking to me?
Yes, I'm talking to you. What are you typing?
I'm typing how much I disagree with your video. You got it all wrong.
It's okay to disagree with me and tell me I'm wrong, but look at what you're writing.
I wrote, I am going to show you how wrong you are, you stupid, big-eared, dumb-looking...
If you don't agree with my opinion, that's fine. Say so. But you don't have to insult me and call me names. Also, if I got something wrong, just tell me. And if you really want to educate me, support your claim with some real evidence.
Okay. Good idea.
No problem. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
Right you are. You know, I'm glad we had this.
And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.